Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through CFO services. Now, I told y'all I'm on this mission to get the best. And when one of your buddies make a recommendation and say, you need to find this person, you need to talk to him, you say, okay, all right, I'm going to do that. So they recommended someone and we had to go get him. We started talking, automatic, synergy there. So I said, hey, we got to bring you on and let you, tell the people how you're just doing such a great job. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves because I think what they do is very cool and unique. I don't want to mess it up, but ladies and gentlemen, Michelle is in the building.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Terpstra, and I'm the CEO and founder of the Startup Sales Leadership Institute. And we help companies, coaches, consultants, agency owners, and SaaS startups. We help the CEO exit the sales seat and build a bespoke, on brand sales team so that they're no longer a slave to Zoom, right? So they have the ability to exit that part of their business and thoroughly enjoy living the dream and building a business.
There you go. See, sales. I think actually you may be like the first salesperson we've had on here.
Ooh, I love that. I love to be the first on a podcast. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
super
really
passionate.
feel like you're the first one. All right, see, so that lets y'all know she's special. I told you, if you come recommended, like we make some different changes. All right. So how long have you been in business?
Yes, so we started January of 2020 having no idea what was coming a few months later, and it was actually perfect timing for specifically what we help businesses do because we build remote sales teams. And so
Okay.
that was really powerful timing because you weren't allowed to go in person anywhere anymore. So
That is
leveraging social
fast.
media and other remote strategies became the way to do it, and so the business took off.
Yes, because that was when the dreaded COVID just
Yes.
wanted to just start just tearing up our lives.
Yeah. So I came in and did a little bit of rescuing for everyone trying to figure out how the heck to sell over Zoom and through social media.
Okay, so now let's go back in time. So this is January, February, and you go to your boo and
Yep.
you say, babe, I think I got this idea. I think I can change people's lives. What does he say when you say this?
So that's actually, I'm so glad that you asked that question because it's actually part of my story. So I worked for three Fortune 500s and a small consulting agency in sales. So that's my professional career. And I came to my husband in like December of 2019. And I said, hey, I don't think I have that much steam left in me for these 9 to 5s. I think that I would be a really great sales trainer and consultant. And I've noticed there's this huge need with startups and small businesses that aren't quite sure how to do this, and I think I could be really valuable and take off. And mind you, I was in a multi six-figure sales job with all the benefits and all of the things. So it wasn't like I was walking away from, some part-time low paying
Mhm.
gig. And he looked at me and he's just like, okay. I was like,
Okay.
that's it. I
Oh,
was like, if you think you can do it, you can do it. So let's rock and roll.
he
And
wasn't scared or like,
no, like literally just straight face. Like I think he was like drinking a beer at the time or something. It was like he was like, okay. And he like took a sip of his beer. He's like, let's do it.
okay, okay, cool, cool. All right, so how many kids do you have?
I have two. So Abby is 7 as we're recording, and Owen is 11.
Okay. So now, how do they take this? Like, to them, is it just like, oh, okay, mom, cool? Or is this like, what does that mean?
Oh, they love it. So they're just old enough. Like Owen for sure gets it. He's helped me edit videos and do like small things in the business too, which is like kind of cool. Actually,
Yeah.
I think he's better at that video stuff than I am because of that age. So it's like, right. So, and he's got a little entrepreneur spirit too. And then my daughter, Abby, she loves coming and talking to all my clients on Zoom. She thinks that's so cool that you can use this thing and talk to people across calls. So she always walks in and she does this like, is it okay if I interrupt like head bob, Because clearly I don't want her interrupting if it's something like a podcast or something else like that. And
Right.
come in and like my clients are so sweet. They're like, "Hey, Abby, how are you? How was school today?" And she thinks it's really cool.
Look, how was school today? I yeah, I would just be laughing so hard, like, "Hey, this is part of the game."
She's part of it. So, and they both think it's really amazing. They don't entirely understand what I do, but how I describe it to them is I help other business owners make more sales. And I just keep it super simple. And so they tell all of their friends that that's the exact thing. Oh, my mom helps people make sales. My mom helps people make sales.
Which, I mean, is factually true,
Yeah.
it's not a lie.
Yeah. And they
Okay,
understand sales. So, they get that concept. So, yeah.
okay, so now they know that you do sales and you used to work the 9 to 5, and if I had to guess, whenever I hear somebody say six-figure salary, we know that means more than 9 to 5.
Yeah.
What was that transition like in the family dynamic? So now I'm guessing your time was freed up to a certain extent. What does that look like in the day to day or the week to week? Like, what are some things that maybe you had to change in the family rhythms?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So, one of the big reasons that I went into sales right out of school was the flexibility. So, I was always in outside sales, remote sales myself. And in that type of industry, I was like, had a home office since I was 23 years old. And you're responsible for a territory, and you talk to your boss once a week, and it's a very autonomous role. And they only hire lone wolves, right? So people who can motivate themselves, who are self-led, who are hunters, who are as independent as possible, right? So that was a really, really good place for me. And I actually loved all of my sales jobs. I was really, really lucky. And all of my managers, so like the top ones, I would say I had like three guys and one woman, and they were all like incredible. Wanted to see me succeed, super supporting. So I don't have this like angst or anger towards the 9 to 5. I honestly just outgrew it, if that makes sense.
Okay, okay.
And I was working a lot, and it wasn't always on my terms because clearly, like, I don't control when the sales meetings are, right? Like, that would be on, like, corporate. So I didn't get to pick the week I had to go to a sales meeting. That's just kind of how
Right.
it is. So there were some things that were completely out of my control, but I purposely built a career on my desire to have autonomy in my life. And I think
Mhm.
that's like a really beautiful thing, at least for me. I really like it. And so when I transitioned out of the 9 to 5, I did it because I felt like I outgrew it. And I wanted to lead more. I wanted to build more. I wanted a legacy, an empire, all of these things that weren't going to be accessible to me in at least the 9 to 5 jobs that I was part of, right? But I'm so grateful for that time because it built me into who I was today. And it also allowed me to accelerate my business really, really quickly. And I left a really good taste in corporate America. So, everybody respects me and loves that I went and did this. I still get messages all the time from colleagues and ex bosses that are like, wow, look at you did it, Michelle. We're cheering for you.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Look, that may be the first positive
I know.
positive leaving corporate to start my own business story. So you may be doing a lot of firsts today.
I know. That's just kind of how I am.
There you go. Okay, so you talked about leaving a legacy. So,
Mhm.
in whatever your ideal business structure and time and format and services look like, what do you hope that your kids get from what it is that you do? Like you're already incorporating them some in like the
Mhm.
video editing, but what are you hoping like they look at mom and see?
Yes. So I think that's a really profound question, and it's actually different for my son and my daughter. So I'm going to tell two different stories here. So for my son, I want him to see the relationship that I have with my husband and how much you can be loved even if you're powerful, and that you can still have a balance in your personal relationship, and both people can still be successful. My husband's very
Mhm.
successful. I'm super successful. I love modeling that for my son so that when he gets in a relationship, he can see that, and that and I can already tell he loves women like me. I don't That's kind of like how it happens sometimes, right? So I can see the girls that he likes are like the ambitious ones, the ones that like are outspoken, all the things. It's quite entertaining to view. And then also, so for my daughter, I want her to know that she gets to do this on her terms. If she doesn't want to have an empire, I don't really care. But I want her to be happy, and I want her to know that she has the ability and the choice to choose the path, and that it's not dictated by society or by a man or by any other pressures that she receives. So I just want her to know that she has all of the choices, and I'm modeling that. And I think it's really important.
Okay, that is a strong answer right there. Okay. What are some things that you guys maybe do? I don't know if it's a weekly basis or monthly basis to like stay in tune with each other and connect. We've
Yeah,
had some people say like, "Ah, we do a day trip." Some people say like we do pancakes every Saturday and Moe's on Sundays. So
love
like,
it.
do you have some type of task that everybody kind of looks forward to connect?
So that's, I don't think we actually have something that's on repeat like that. I'm more
Hmm.
of a spontaneous person. So, for example, last night my husband was out for a work event, so it was just me and the kids. And I eat super healthy. I get up at 5 a.m., I work out, I do all the things you're supposed to do, right? I just looked at my daughter and my son. I said, you know what? We're not going to have dinner tonight. We're going to make cookies and eat cookie dough. And that's what's happening tonight. And they both were like, what? And I was like, yeah, you guys want to do that? So we made cookies and ate cookie dough, and they still had some regular dinner. But I just decided, why not? Right? Like, let's just have some fun.
I would celebrate that. I
Right.
mean,
And so I kind of feel like I hope that in, 20 years from now, they're like, remember when mom would just be like, screw it, we're having cookies or dinner, right?
my kids would love you if you ever came. Daddy, can we get the cookie lady to come back?
So like I was an aunt before I was a mom. And so sometimes I find myself like in aunt mode with my own kids. Like aunts would do that, not like the mom, right?
I feel like that's mom of the year type qualities right there. That's pretty. That's pretty up.
Yeah. And I,
All right.
yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. All right, so now let's talk about now you talked about Bay being real successful.
Hmm.
And so, how is that balanced? Because, of course, you have your own thing and it's growing each and every month, every year. And then, whatever he does, you said that he's super successful. So, how does that look in terms of like keeping connected? Not just like we're both in the same house, but like, no, we still really love each other and enjoy each other. What does that look like for you guys?
Well, that's hard. Like, that's a hard thing, right? And I don't really know anybody who would say that's simple, or maybe I'm just missing something. So you have to put in the effort, right? So we have 3 or 4 babysitters, and I just pre schedule them out for like a month or two.
Hmm.
And so that I know we have that time. And then sometimes we go out with other couples, or sometimes it'll just be us. But what I have found is you just have to put it in the calendar when you have two really
Hmm.
busy schedules like that to ensure.
Wait. But people say, no, you're supposed to be spontaneous like you were when you were dating.
Yeah, so I mean cookies, right? Like a little spontaneity there, but I feel like you've got to do that. I mean, I at least I have never seen a relationship that has children and 2 very successful people that have success in their relationship without planning for it. I have never
Yes.
seen that. If somebody wants to reach out to me and tell me they figured that out, please let me know.
I'm with you. I feel like, that's kind of a fantasy. I feel like when you get married, like the fact is you have to schedule it because to your point, your calendars are going 2 different ways. You're trying to really invest in your kids and not just stick them in front of a screen. You care about who you're going to put in front of them or watch over them. So you have to utilize that calendar and schedule things, or else you're going to keep saying, let's be spontaneous. And then 3 months later, we still haven't done a date or connected.
Yes, and I mean, it's just the stage that we're in. Like when our kids are older, like I have some friends that have high school kids,
Mhm.
and the high school kids don't need sitters, and they drive themselves and all these things. Like your world totally changes at that point, right? And
Right.
you can have some more spontaneity. Like if both kids are out that night, you're like, "Ooh, what do we want to do?" Right? Like it
Mhm.
changes, but the stage that I'm at right now with 7 and 11, like you just kind of have to plan.
Feel it. I mean, I agree with you because I think that's that's the only way you're gonna make it, or else we stuck.
Yeah, how old are your kids, Cameron?
So mine are 8, 6, and 1.5.
Oh, that 1.5, that's just I'm just throwing a fork into the road when it comes
Man,
to planning things.
that's my guy right there. But I'm like, bro, you got to chill out. You all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So good. So now let's talk about. All right. So we talked about him being successful, you being super focused and intentional there. Now let's talk about your business. So sales. Like for some people, that's a really, I don't know if the word is like icky or nasty or
Yeah.
scary or intimidating topic to the marketing agencies that are struggling.
Mhm.
Because I can say this from having clients, talking to prospects, being in their masterminds. Like we all know, sales is what puts you forward. You got to manage the money. Yes,
Mhm.
taxes are super great and strategies and all that. But if you're not making money, all of that doesn't matter.
Right.
So, what are some things that you would encourage, since this is mainly for agencies, but
Yeah.
successful business owners?
Mhm.
I think you will hear, and you would know this better than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sales is just hard for most people. What are some things that you found, or maybe tips that can help them to, I don't know if you want to say overcome those fears or
Mhm.
concerns, but to do better and drive more sales?
Yes. Okay. I have two-part answer to this. The first
Okay.
part answer to marketing agencies specifically, like you
Mhm.
are built for sales teams. So I want to say that loud and clear. And the reason why is unlike coaches or consultants, where they're literally the face of the brand and it's kind of difficult to pull away from that as marketing agency owners, pulling away from the face of the brand can actually be a much simpler process, which empowers a sales team to take over. And so, first, I want to position that. And before you're ready for that, you need to make sure your sales funnel is working. What do I mean by sales funnel? Please know how you're getting booked calls on your calendar, how you're doing lead gen, document the process, have at least a 50% closing rate on whatever process that is before you choose to hire a salesperson. So if you really don't like sales, the cool thing is like just like it enough to be successful to hit those metrics and then you could start to build a sales team, okay? So, and I feel really, really passionately about that. And also, marketing agencies are some of the top companies that love to get bought, right? So, there's a lot of people who sell their agencies. And if you don't have sales figured out in your business, which means it can happen without you, you are valued at less. That's it.
Ooh,
Period.
say that again, because acquisitions is huge. She's telling the
Yep.
truth. Say it
Acquisitions is
again
huge.
for them, because they may have just glossed over the
All right.
gym.
I'm going to say it again. If you ever want to sell your business, sales must be successful without you involved.
Mm.
Investors, buyers are going to devalue you, offer you less, or not make an offer if sales doesn't happen if you leave for a month. So, one of my favorite clients, she actually helps people exit their businesses. And that's actually one of her litmus tests when she's coaching is like, if you can't leave your business for a month, we're not ready.
Mm.
And that is super powerful. So she says, first, take a week vacation. Okay, nothing broke. We're good to go. 2 weeks. Cool. Nothing broke. We're good to go. And then you do that all the way up to a month. And if
Mhm.
you don't have sales figured out and you go a month without sales, like depending on what your business model is, I hope you have some monthly recurring revenue, by the way, because that's also valued a lot by investors. That becomes a problem. So that's my number one recommendation.
That's strong. And I mean, I agree with you because part of that, and I've heard that framework in this book called Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. Same thing. You got to work up to it, but it's going to reveal is your business where it needs to be or no.
Yep.
And we were literally talking to one of our clients about buying and acquiring a business. So we said some of those same things. So I think that is such a key, valuable point to really pay attention to. Now, for the do you think that sales are approached differently based on what stage of the business you're in? Or do you think everybody pretty much is one and the same?
No, totally different. Absolutely. Like you cannot start a business and then be like, I'm never going to sell myself and I'm going to have a salesperson sell for me. There's very few businesses where that would work out. You would need a lot of venture capital, or maybe you're in a co partnership. One person's doing fulfillment and somebody else is doing sales, right? So I say up to your first $1 million that you make in your business, I actually recommend that you are the person doing the sales.
Whoa, whoa. Your first, I just knew you were gonna say like 500.
No, I think your first million. Now that's not million in 1 year, right? That is
Oh, okay. Total.
lifetime. Okay.
Okay.
So once you, the business owner, have done $1 million in sales, then
Hmm.
you are ready to consider having someone join your team in sales. It is a
Wow.
powerful point. Yeah. And I've seen it. I mean, now clearly there's outliers both ways, right? But that is a general number that works really, really well and can make you feel extremely comfortable in the transition. And I do have one caveat to that. Let's say you're listening to right now and you're like, Michelle, I'm at like a 500,000 and everything is just dialed, like I'm ready to put fuel on this. Then maybe you're the exception. You also don't have to start by giving sales over to someone entirely. And what do I mean by that? You can have a sales assistant. And what that can look like is, let's say you take Zoom for your sales calls, which I recommend, then you can have that sales assistant join you in that call. They can be part of the conversation. Then they can do all of the contracts, the proposals, the follow ups, the CRM tracking, like everything that takes you an enormous amount of time on the back end is handed off to someone. And that is one way to save massive amounts of time, right? And then you can start to give that person more and more control. Perhaps that they will screen calls before they actually go to you to close, for example. There's so many different ways you can build sales teams, and it doesn't have to be an all in right now, everything at once. You can gradually lead up to it, and it can be a really effective process for you.
This sounds like somebody who used to make six figures at Fortune 500 companies. I'm telling you.
Just saying.
Because I think, to be fair to your point, to keep driving that home, like most people, I know that's what I would think. Like, hey, all right, I'm making whatever 300 or 500. All right, cool. Let me get a salesperson, and now you do sales. But I know fun story. Let's be transparent because we keep it real.
I love it.
I just tried that with a company where I hired somebody to bring in appointments,
Mhm,
and it didn't work out in the manner that I wanted to. I gave them the script that I had, told them what I do, how to find the people I was already connected to, and there weren't sales being booked because there was nothing getting on the calendar.
mhm,
And I had to just take a step back and say, you know what? We need to pause this because I can't even clearly communicate what to tell you to fix. You see what I'm saying? Because I only know how I do it. But to your point, maybe because I haven't done 5 million or whatever the number is, that you would say. I don't know how to tell you what to troubleshoot because I only know just how to do it. Versus, I think what you're getting at is it's one thing for you to be able to make the sale. It's another thing for you to effectively teach somebody else how to get the exact same result without you being there and jumping in every 5 minutes, you know?
yeah,
So I think that is very good information because a lot of people, especially the agency world, they're very quick to try to offload and outsource and
mhm,
keep this off my plate. And I think you're just really driving home the point that you can't be so quick to just hand off everything.
yes, and it's very difficult for CEOs and marketing agency owners to communicate to sales teams like, "This is how I do it." That is a really, really difficult thing, so it's not uncommon that you had that struggle. Anybody listening right now that wants to get ahead of the game there, what I recommend is documenting your successful conversations, like literally screenshotting them all and starting a folder, just a casual folder in Google Drive, like successful DM conversations to book a call or whatever method you're using, and then ones that didn't go so well, right? So that you have that comparison points because simulation for learning and sales and voice is really, really amazing. And then also when you do your sales calls, record that. And then when you're done, go in and listen to your sales call and audit yourself, document that, put it in a folder so that when you have somebody come on board, you have all these sample calls to go back through.
Okay, would you suggest, which I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you think that everybody that is a business owner needs to have some sort of sales training unless you came from a sales background?
100%.
at some level,
Non-negotiable.
even if you make less than 10K a month.
Yep. 100%. It's why I focus on the sales teams, but a lot of people come to me who aren't ready for sales teams. And they're like,
Mhm.
Michelle, but I still want your help. Like, how can you support me? And I have a low ticket membership that's really good. And that is where the solopreneur can go to master sales skills themselves. And a lot of people are like, Michelle, why don't you charge 10K for this? And I'm like, because I don't want to. I just don't want to. I want it to be accessible to people who are trying to build that legacy, that empire. And, I'll gladly charge you lots of money when I build your sales team. I just want you to learn how to sell. Okay. So this is my own business strategy. It's my own way I've decided to build my business, but it is absolutely critical that you take formalized sales training as a business owner.
Yeah, because I can tell you right now, that first year, probably 2.5 years, it was rough.
Yes.
Because I mean, coming from corporate, like I was in accounting, I didn't have to sell anything. I'm just worried about keeping track of everything, making sure they're looking good. Are they profitable? Some strategies, things of that nature. I never had to sell anything. So then you come into being a business owner, and especially when you just start, to your point, you're
Mhm.
everything. You're the operations, your systems, your HR, your sales, your marketing. Some people are accounting, and it's just so many different things. And everybody's going to have that one thing that they're not good at. And I think I'm pretty decent. I'm not going to say I'm terrible, but I'm just like, man, it's people who probably do this like in their sleep. And it took a while, to your point, like, y'all, I'm really giving y'all like her all the credit because what she's saying, I've experienced it.
Yeah.
It's like you have to get so many reps in to even like, what's your style?
Hmm.
Like, are you an aggressive closer? Are you a calm one? Like, how there's techniques on pausing at certain point. Like, it is crazy the stuff that you have to learn in order to successfully get where you want to go. Um,
Yeah. And to your point, the different styles. I mean, I wish I could start a comedy show on the different styles of closing, right? I mean, it is the things that I have seen in the online business world would never happen in corporate America. Like the closing strategies, the gaslighting, um the extra pressure, the aggressiveness,
but they tell you that's
the
what you're
guilt.
supposed to do.
Oh my god, I'm like, "Holy moly, is this real?" Like, what? Like,
I've had a coach tell me that when you get done, you need to ask them for their card. If they're showing hesitancy or saying that they have to go like talk to their spouse or something, they haven't bought all the way in. So you need to hit them with the urgency, like, well, hey, if you get off the phone, the price is gonna. I was like, dang,
do
that's
you
rough.
do you wanna hear a story about the partner objection that I
Let's
got early on in my business?
let's do it.
Okay. So I was still doing all of my sales at this point, and we were in the process of moving. So I was literally in my realtor's office because my house was getting toured for an open house. Okay. And I was taking my Zoom sales call. And at the time, it was for a group coaching program that was helping the solopreneur master sales. It was a very, very long time ago. And and so anyway, so I'm on this call and we're on Zoom and we're having this great conversation. And I asked her that. I said, okay, are you ready to move forward? And she said, I really need to talk to my husband. And I go, oh my gosh, yeah, of course. I'd want to talk to my husband too. I don't need his permission, but we make decisions together. And I said, is he happen to be home? And she said, well, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I have plenty of time here. I'm just sitting here in my realtor's office when my house is open. So just put me on mute and, take your time, go talk to him, and I'll wait right here. And she was like really confused. She's like, oh, you'll do that? And I go, yeah, sure. Like, how much time do you think you need? She's like, I don't know. We're usually pretty quick, like 10, 15 minutes. I was like, great. I'll answer some emails. So that's literally what happened. She put me on mute. She walked away. And then she came back and she's like, oh my gosh, my husband's so excited. He thinks this is the best fit. And so I want to pay in full so I can get all of the bonuses. And can you send me the link? And then she was my client. And that was it.
Mm, no pressure. You gave her the opportunity. So maybe that's the question I should ask to the people who teach Like, and I get it. There is such thing as urgency because we don't want tire kickers, but I
Correct.
don't think it makes you bad to say, like, let me think about it. Like, we just signed somebody over the weekend. They came on Monday. We talked to him on Friday,
Hmm.
laid out the options. He said, all right, cool. He said, I feel pretty good with it, but can I just think about it over the weekend? I was like, sure. I didn't try to. Well, if you do that, then I'm going to up it. And I was just like, sure, because I think to your point, like, you want people who want to work with you and they really made that commitment internally to say, this is an investment. I don't want to have to force you and like put the gun to your head just so you work with us. And sure enough, I said, well, here, let's follow up on Monday. That way, if you have any questions, we can talk about it. He's like, all right, cool. I said, right. Or if everything's good, you just hit the button. All he did was just hit the button. I looked at my email. I was like, yeah. So I think to your point, there are different styles. Would you be willing to say which ones are wrong?
Anything that is using any form of gaslighting is,
Explain gaslighting because some people be like, no, that's not gaslighting. I'm just keeping it real.
yeah, they're not keeping it real. So, gaslighting is when you make people feel crazy basically for their own decision making process, right? So, everyone makes decisions in different ways. And you have to be respectful to the decision making process. So, I teach a method that's really deeply rooted in emotional intelligence and connection and empathy, and it's extremely powerful. I can get anyone to buy anything from me at any time. Like, without, I mean, literally.
Whoa.
But the
I
thing
love it.
is it
I
comes
love
with
it.
a massive amount of responsibility, a massive amount of responsibility, because I need to make sure that it's the right fit for them. I don't want to be responsible for using my own power to get someone to say yes to something that they really should not have said yes to.
Because what would that, in a bad case, that would look like?
So that could be a form of gaslighting. That I could use my power to do those things. You have to know what you're doing and if it's ethical. And this is a really, really fine line. And I'm really passionate about this because this is the thing that happens. There are tons of big companies out there, and especially in the online space, that are still using like the old school, very hard pressure, aggressive sales tactics. What's happening is that the consumer is getting more intelligent about the process. So now they're telling everybody about that it's happening. One, which is not good for your brand. Two, it may still be working. They get into the program and they have buyer's remorse, which means they don't complete your program, which means you don't have a success story, which means they go tell all of their friends. There are literally pods of people that have gone through certain programs, which I'm not going to talk about, that
Don't
now
do
all
it.
have their own little support groups because of the trauma they experienced, right? And
Yep.
there's different levels of this. There's some that don't even know they're doing it. They're just like, oh, I'm getting my sale. That's another conversation, right? There's also others that are intentionally doing it and are creating toxic environments. And anybody who hasn't watched Escaping Twin Flames on Netflix, you should go do that.
Shout out to Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go there because to your point, and I've seen that probably within the past month. Like, there's some people who like, hey, I joined this mastermind type
Mhm.
group, and they're like, hey, they make the sales sound really awesome and amazing.
Yep.
And I get in there, I do get a quick win, but then something happens and I don't hear from this. And then I try to reach out and it just goes south. To those people,
Mhm.
like, that's kind of what you're hinting at. What does that mean the sales process was like versus what it should be?
Right. So if you're struggling getting people, if people ghost you, if people say give you verbal yeses but never purchase from you, if it seems like somebody is really excited to work with you but they don't, that's when it's time for you to really work on your sales skills, because it's very I find it very common that someone is really nice on a Zoom call and kind, and like
Mhm.
then the other person's going to want to be nice too. Like, I don't want to shut this person down and make them feel bad. How do I let them down nicely? So a lot of times they're like, send me a proposal, or, I'll think about it, or whatever it could be. So that could be natural ways that people are making decisions, or it could be the way the prospect doesn't want to hurt that person's feelings, right? And so it's really important that you are isolating objections so that you can determine if it is actually a sales opportunity or not. Because what you don't want to do is chase, 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 people who are never going to purchase from you. So I'll give you an example.
That's good. That is so say that again, because that used to be me, because I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
But I send it and then you keep there's something such as good follow-up, and
Mhm.
then there's what you're talking about. Break it down for us.
Yes. So a lot of times people will come to me and they will say, Michelle, like I have these 40 hot leads. I followed up with them 6 times each. No one's getting back to me. Everyone said they were interested. They're not following through. And I'm like, they're not interested. And let me tell you why, right? So we'll break it down. And usually the root of it looks like something like this. Okay. Let's say we're in a conversation about, me building your sales team for you, right? And one of your
Mhm.
objections is, you know what, this isn't good timing for me because I just hired, somebody to do XYZ in my business and I need to get them onboarded before I take on another expansion of my team. Okay.
Okay.
That's a valid concern, right?
Very.
Totally, right? So it could totally be just a, hey, I need 5 minutes, Michelle. Or it could be, I don't want to do this. So I'm going to tell her I'm busy with something else and we'll see how it goes. So what my comeback to that would be, or my response would be like, absolutely. I think that's really responsible of you as the business owner, because I want you to be successful working with me. And if you have too much going on, we won't have the opportunity to do this right. So let me ask you, Cameron, when are you done with the onboarding process of this new team member?
Give me about 60 to 90 days and then they should be fully up and running.
Okay, so is it 60 or 90?
Let's just play it safe and say 90 just in case something happens crazy.
Awesome. So then we're looking towards the end of February for when you're ready for that. So would you agree that February would be a great start date for you in order to start to build that sales team?
Uh, I mean, that sounds about right, but I'm gonna be in the middle of tax season though, so it's gonna be really busy.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. If you were in the
Mhm,
middle of tax season and you had somebody
mhm.
else building your portfolio during that period of time so that you could fulfill, would that be appealing to you, or do you think you're prepared to wait even longer to scale sales?
I mean, if somebody was still bringing in clients while I was bringing in all the tax people, that would be amazing to be honest with you.
Awesome. So, how can we get you settled with a sales team member that's performing? And I need 5 weeks for that before you enter into busy season.
That would mean we would have to do it in January because it's busy because we're doing year-end stuff,
Mhm.
but it's not tax season busy because February, March, April is crazy.
Yes, I can totally understand. So, do you think it would be reasonable if we got started in the beginning of January? Like, I know you have that team member, but you've done this before. So, do you think we could accelerate that a little bit and get started?
That's good. That's good.
Right. So, do you see how I isolated all of your objections? Okay.
Mhm.
So, if they're
And
real
you didn't do
objections,
it nasty either. Like
right.
you didn't make me feel bad or like I'm passing up the world's greatest opportunity.
Right.
So I think, as you can see, why she's great.
And Cameron, what
Smart.
I'll say is the point of that is that you could have at any time said, no, Michelle, I'm not interested. Right. But the reason why you do that is because if they really are trying to work with you, then keep asking the questions, because objection handling is actually the mind making a logical decision. So everything I asked you, you had to pause and think about it. You're like, great, is that realistic? Will that benefit me? Is that realistic? Will that like, these are good ways that people make good decisions. And if you rush through that process, people make bad decisions that aren't ready to implement. And we all want people that implement. Like, that's the whole point, right?
Facts.
And so at
Facts.
any time you could have, like, what could have happened to, like, let's say you were really not ready. You could be, Michelle, no, I just don't think so in January. And then I would have just said, hey, you know what? Be honest with me. You're not quite ready for this, are you? And then usually, if they're
Mm.
really
So you
not
think they
ready,
say yeah?
yep, if they're really not ready, like, you know what, Michelle, you're right. Like, this is kind of like a pipe dream thing for me. And then I would likely downsell into something else that could help them feel more safe and prepared for the future of the sales team.
Ooh, which may be the group you were talking about,
Yeah. So I,
because that way it's not as massive, but you're still getting something and you can go at your own pace.
yep.
See? I'm not trying to I don't get commissions or nothing.
No,
I'm just saying, I've done a lot of courses where they really push sales in an aggressive way. Like I've had some people like, oh yeah, tell them if they really wanted to work with you, then they could put it on a credit card. Like it's about what you want and doing what and I was just like,
So, let me tell you a story about that credit card. So, I have a lot of international clients, and oddly enough, like quite a few in Norway, which is interesting, right? And
mhm.
so she was having some issues with selling one of her programs right now. She's having a lot more objections than usual, and there's lots of reasons that's happening. So we were working through a couple of things, and I asked her. I said, Americans put everything on credit cards, and there's like 0% for 12 months, and you're like, I'll figure it out within 12 months. All these things. I was like, do people do that in Norway? She's like, oh no, like no one wants debt here. And I was like, that is so interesting to me, right? So Americans are like, debt, 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 American dream, put it on the credit card, rock and roll. And then you have an entirely different culture that's like, oh, I don't even want a credit card.
And I think, or at least from what I've seen, the thought process is, well, if this program is as good as this being, claimed to be, well, if I got to pay you 10K, but you're going to help me make 100, well, when I make the 100 or while I'm getting it, then I'll just pay it off. It's a worthwhile investment. I got my ROI. So I'm willing to take that loss now in order to be better off in 3 to 6 months, for example.
Yes.
Which, to your point, you can argue that that's business in and of itself.
Right. It's a money offer. If you have a money offer, 100%, you can see that. But if it's not a money offer, like maybe it's not closely tied to money. Like agencies usually have, money offers. They're helping you make more money. But marketing takes a while. Marketing's not like turn on the faucet and all of a sudden I'm super rich. Like that's not how it
Yeah.
works. Like marketing takes time to work well. So, so I get that. But like if you make 20 10K investments and hoping they're all going to make you a certain amount of money, it starts to stack and it becomes a problem. That's actually where I see the issue. So if you do it just once or twice and it's strategic, then of course you're going to make back your money if you're doing that. It's just when people overuse it. And the other thing is most online business owners are bootstrapped. They don't have capital that they're funded with, right? So you have to get a little bit creative. SaaS startups or the startup world, like they all have capital.
That's facts. Okay, I got a controversial question for you since we're
Yeah.
here. So, would you suggest, and we may make some agencies mad, if you had, let's just say, we'll use 10K, that's an easy number, or we'll say five.
Okay.
You have 5K,
Hmm.
and you can go to either a marketing agency and pay for ads,
Okay.
or you come to sales coaching slash training, and we're not even gonna say it's you, we're just gonna say in general. You would tell them to pick which, if they want an immediate, let's just say 90-day ROI,
Hmm.
which one is better and why?
All right. So I would have to ask a couple of questions. So my first question would be, sir, do you have inbound leads?
Most everybody, I think, would say yes.
Great. Do you have calls on your calendar?
I'll act like some of my
Yeah.
clients. So I know who to act like. Okay.
All right.
We got a couple, but not where I want them to be.
How many what's your closing percentage on the calls that you do have on your calendar?
Like probably 40 to 50.
40 to 50%. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
how many more calls per week would you need in order to hit your goal at that current closing?
Well, I'm having about 3 calls a month, but I was talking to Cameron, he recommended me to you, and he told me in order to get to the $1 million run rate, I need to have 8 calls and close 4 at 1,500 a month.
Okay. So, first of all, right now you need to solve the inbound lead problem or resolve it in a different way because you don't have enough opportunities to hit that number. So, if you came to me and you said you had 10 calls booked on your calendar per week and you were closing 20% of them, I would have a heart attack. And I would want you to be in a sales program so you can convert more of those leads. But if you don't have a full calendar or you don't have inbound leads coming through your CRM where someone could follow up and book the calls, then you need to figure out your marketing piece first and get people on your calendar. And then we can solve any additional sales problems.
Mm. Okay, so big distinction there.
Yes.
So you got to have leads first
Yes.
before we start talking sales. Because see, I think maybe a common misconception is, well, but aren't you just I only get 2 calls a month. I just need to close those 2 and I'd be better off.
Well, see, this is the nuance of it, right? You said you closed about 40 to 50% of them. Had you told me you were like 10, 15%, I would be like, no, whoa, we don't want any more leads on your calendar because you don't know how to close.
Right.
Right? So let's fix that first, right? So there's a lot of nuances to it. But and also if you're having 2 or 3 calls and you're doing like a 50% close rate, like that's decent. I mean, I close closer to 90. So I would probably want to listen to one of those calls and be like, "Oh, whoa. Wait, you don't need any more leads. You just need to improve the sales side of it." So that's the other flip of the coin. But the thing is I never lie to anybody. I would never say you need me first when you don't really, because that's just going to shoot myself and my brand in the foot. And you have to do it in the right order. And it just depends on what your specific situation looks like.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh crap, this is flown. Okay, we got like 6 more minutes.
Yeah,
All
you're
right,
a good interviewer.
thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. I'm having fun.
Um, I just try to because I think about like the questions my clients may have, or like we've been meeting with a couple, and of course we've been talking about sales because my job as CFO is to help you to make more money and then balance it all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, you have to get more leads to get to X amount of level. So I'm just trying to think on their behalf, like some of them may only have 3 calls in a month, but to your point, if you close 1 or 2 of those, that's great. But to your point, I think that's a very specific distinction. Like, first off, maybe instead of just having 3, we need to get you 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 calls. And then we have more data to use on are you good or not? Because we didn't even get into offers, because I know that's a big part of what you teach.
Yes, it's a huge part.
Offers is huge.
Yep. If you have a crappy offer, it's going to be really difficult to sell it.
So, okay, so see, that's a whole different thing. Offers is making sure that that's optimized and it's communicated effectively.
Correct.
See, I only know this because I've
Well, I mean, that's how you learn, right? But yeah, if it's not positioned right or if it's misaligned with the type of persona you're trying to sell to, like if you have the persona of an established business owner that has a growing team and you come in and try to sell them a self-studied course, unless their team member is going to take it, that is not what an established business owner does. They either want services, team members, or other done for you services. Like that's just how it is, right? But if you're
right.
going after a brand new entrepreneur who's still in their 9 to 5, doesn't have control over their calendar and needs something they can learn at night, then a course or something like that's going to be a perfect fit for them. So you have to make sure the market fits there as well.
Okay. All right. Let's switch it up. Dang, I wish we had more time, but I know you got to keep saving the world. Okay. Last question. Tell us a funny accounting or tax horror story that probably not now, but in your beginning years, you were like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Okay, so that's actually a wonderful conversation. I was having a conversation about this actually a couple of days ago with my husband. And, we have like complicated taxes. We have a lot of things going on, right?
Right.
And I'm a smart, successful person. Like, I look at my numbers, I do all the things you're supposed to do, right? And I was like, Andy, I am so confused. Like, why? And I'm like looking at this, I'm just so mad. And you don't know this, but I, up to about like 2 years ago, hated looking at my money. I was great at making it. And then I just would be like, there you go, Andy. There you go. There you go. So I'm like, generate all this money. I'm like, whatever you want to do with it, it's all up to you. Right. And that just was my personality. And then I realized it's a problem. So
Mhm.
I've been working super hard over the last 2 years to then look at the money that I'm making and ensure that it's going out to the right places. Okay.
Yep.
And so that's been something I've been really, really working on. And so successful business owner, successful in my professional career, well educated. I have a BA, went to a great university. I take things really seriously. We're diversified in our investments. We own real estate. We own part of a restaurant. We have all this. And I'm like looking at this and I am so confused. So this is my first lesson is If you're confused, ask somebody. Don't sit there confused. So ask somebody and get the support that you need to understand your numbers, because it is absolutely critical. Even if it's something you don't like or makes you uncomfortable, like the situation that I just shared, right? 2 is the system is freaking broken. I, in high school, should have had to take an accounting and tax course to understand this all. Like, that should just be mandatory. And it is absolutely insane to me that we're not being taught that in high school. And there's my soapbox.
I would agree.
Soapbox.
I think that's amazing advice. All right. Well, she has to go save the world. So let's end it the way we always do. So this is your time. Tell the people, name, where to best connect with you. What are you offering to help them? Why they should pick you versus the guy who wants you to just slap it on the credit card by today, or else he's going to add an extra 3K. Like, throw all that on there so that way people may say, I love her energy. I love her wisdom, etc. And I want to work with her. How can they find you?
So first of all, I'm Michelle Terpstra, and I own the Startup Sales Leadership Institute. And why you would want to work with me over somebody else is because I strongly believe that you need to build a sustainable business that does not require you to be involved on a day-to-day basis. And I want to show you the way to do that. And I have a couple of ways I can support you. But what I would absolutely love is if you went onto Facebook and you searched Michelle Terpstra and you sent me a message and told me that you heard this podcast and what your biggest takeaway was from this conversation. That would mean the world to me. And if you're into free stuff, I have tons of free stuff on my website. So michelleterpstra.com/resources, and you'll find them all there.
All right. Now, spell the last name in case they're not good at spelling.
Yes, so this is the married last name that's hard to spell, right? Okay, here we go. This is my Michelle with 2 L's. My last name is Terpstra. T as in Tom, E as in elephant. R as in Robert, P as in Paul, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, R as in Robert, A as in Apple.com.
She wants to make sure that y'all know. Now, as you guys can see, like, she's awesome. She cares about what she's doing. This is not something that she learned from a course and is repurposing. This is her coming from a successful career working with, she didn't just say anybody. You said 3 Fortune 500 companies. She was making 6 figures, which lets you know she was trusted with a lot. And she still has positive relationships, which lets you know she did an amazing job. So she has multiple options. Guys, go check her out. Check out the Facebook group she has. Check her out. Just connect with her to see some of the great information and value that she's posting, because I think that sales at the end of the day drives businesses forward. We can try to make it fancy and throw all these other things, but the fact is sales drives us forward. And somebody like Michelle on your team is invaluable. They can not only help you to close more, but even optimize and grow your sales team. So please, please, please reach out to her, and just see what she has to offer. You've heard the podcast. You've heard the goodies, the gold nuggets she's dropped with the honey mustard. Like, I mean, she don't have to say nothing else. So we thank you guys so much, Michelle. Thank you again for coming. It's always our job to find you guys the best people. We can't wait until the next episode. So until then, you guys stay safe. Take care of each other. Peace.
Thank you, Cameron.